Hello, everyone. Miss Julie here, and welcome to the fourth episode of It's Treerrific, our video series all about trees. And today we're back at the Chilliwack Community Forest, and we have a very special guest with us, a Geo-Scientist, if you can believe it. And this is Drew Brayshaw. Hi, Drew.
Hey, everybody. So yeah, I'm a geoscientist, and I spend my days walking around in the woods looking at landslides and floods and rockfalls and things like that. But when I don't do that, on the side, I'm really interested in mushrooms and fungi and that kind of thing. And I'm going to tell you about what they are and how to tell them apart and how they're connected with trees and with all of life as we know it, really. I'd like to start off, before I tell you anything else, I'm going to ask you guys a question myself. Do you know the difference between fungi and mushrooms? Fungi are a class of life, just like plants and animals, but we don't see them all that often because mostly they live inside dead trees or in the ground, or spores floating around in the air where they're too small to see. But they can get really big in the ground. They can grow out and form these networks, almost like mold growing underneath the ground and touching the roots of plants and stuff like that. But then, just like an apple tree has apples, a fungi has mushrooms. Those are their fruit, and they pop up out of the ground or out of wood, and then we can find them, and then we say, there's a mushroom. Oh, that's awesome.
I read that there's a hidden communication system in the forest. Can you tell us about
absolutely. All around us here, there's trees, and you can see these trees, and they're all growing. A lot of these are cedars, and they don't have much to do with fungi a lot of the time. But other things like the ferns and bushes and shrubs here that we do, their roots go into the soil. And in the soil, those roots are basically sitting in a bath of fungi. The fungi are like a little net that's connecting the roots to all the other roots. And that makes a big difference. Plants are green. They get their energy from sunlight, and they make energy, but they have a hard time breaking down some of the little bits of rock and dead wood and stuff like that are in the soil. Fungi are really good at doing that. So they break it down, they make vitamins and nutrients and minerals, and they trade those to trees and plants and bushes. And so it goes from the fungi into the roots of the plant and then up into the plants. And in the same way, if plants, for instance, get injured, a woodpecker's pecking on one because bugs are in it and there's a hole in it, that plant reacts and it sends out a signal that the fungi can detect, which go through the fungi into the roots of the next plant over and warn that tree that there's insects around, and then that tree can make more sap to try and fight those insects off. So think about it, all these trees in this whole forest are connected to each other by this underground, like Intreenet. They're just like little fungi trading things back and forth, sap and minerals and nutrients and stuff. And they're just like swapping things just like we are on the surface. There's other kinds that we know about too. I talk about the fungi in the soil, but some of the fungi in the air won't grow unless they find sourdough starter. If you put flour and water and mix it together in a bowl at home and leave it out on the counter at the right temperature for a day or so, some of those spores that are just looking for flour and water in the air that live around us all the time will settle into that, and they'll start fermenting that dough, and the dough will start bubbling, and then when you make it into bread, that's what makes the big pockets in the bread. That's what makes bread tasty. That's fungi. And it's the same thing. We use fungi, all sorts of things like cheese and chocolate and stuff like that. All of those that get fermented, that's just fungi acting on the raw food to make it into something that's better for us to eat. Every day we eat fungi without even eating mushrooms. There's fungi all around us. If we look around right here, for instance, what's on this log? Right here. Look at this stuff. So see these big orange things that are growing out of this log? They're a little moldy now because they're old. These are past their due date. But we can break one off and see this is a type of fungus called chicken of the woods, because when it's nice and fresh and juicy and raw, you can peel off strips and cook them up, and they're just like chicken strips. They're pretty good. You just have to cook them for a couple minutes. So there's all sorts of fungi in the forest. You can see this one's kind of soft and orange and rotten. It'd be good to eat if it's fresh. If you look just over that log there, there's a whole different kind of mushroom growing out here, and this is one that's called the artist's conch, because it's totally white underneath, but that's its spore producing surface. You can actually write on it, and that's why they call it the artist's conch, because then people can draw them and leave messages for each other. And the thing about mushrooms is anytime you see a mushroom of any sort, it's okay to pick it and look at it and check it out, because it's just like picking an apple off the tree. You're not hurting the fungi. The fungi's still underground in the soil or in the wood or wherever. But the one thing is, some of these are pretty slow growing. This has taken about 3 years to grow, so it'll take about 3 years to grow back. So don't pick more than you need, because other people want to come along and see the cool ones too.
Right.
So kids, there's one very important message that I want you to remember, which is that you should never eat any mushroom you find in the woods without knowing what it is. About 10% of mushrooms are great and they're tasty and you can use them as food. About 80% of the mushrooms are kind of like, they taste bad or they're bitter or sour or something like that. But 10% of them have some sort of toxin or poison in them that could hurt you or make you sick. So if you don't know what it is, don't eat it. If you find a mushroom, ask an adult who knows, like me or somebody else, to tell you what it is. And even then, most mushrooms should be cooked before they're eaten.
Thank you for joining us today. You're a real fun guy, if you ask me.
Oh, I've never heard that one before.
So kids, next time you go for a walk in the woods, maybe you want to crouch down and pause and peel away the leaves and look and see what you can find. Maybe you can find the hidden Intreenet of the forest.
It's kind of like Easter egg hunting, except you can do it all year long. You just have to look on the ground.
Love it. Bye-bye.